Well, hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Logistics Executive TV. We are here in bright and sunny Sydney in Australia, and I'm joined by a gentleman today who is the CEO of an organisation called Sircel. And Sircel is a very interesting company. I've had the ability to come and visit their site and have a look and see what they're doing in the sustainability space and in the circular economy space. And I'm here talking to the CEO, Anthony Karam. Anthony, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Yeah, and good to see you again.
Yeah, good to have you at our site as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks so much for the hospitality.
No problems.
Anthony, you're the CEO of Sircel. This company's been going for a few years. You're leaders in the circular economy space in regards to recovery of precious metals, I understand. Why don't you give us a brief about Sircel? Why does it exist and what are you guys up to?
Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting references there about, circular economy and resource recovery and whatnot. If, in a nutshell, we're a green technology company.
Yep.
We focus on e-waste. So we've, really got a focus on the single stream. So it allows us to be experts in that space. We've developed a whole range of processes, systems and technology that allows us to treat all forms of e-waste. So we're not focusing on just discrete parts of it. We're maybe just focusing on higher value stuff. We can treat all e-waste, so we can operate on scale. Our process is scalable, so which is another huge advantage. One of the things we've really driven in terms of our process development is being able to access all the commodities on the way through, and either bring them out of the process in a form that's ready to go back into manufacturing, or can be sold as a commodity into the into the relative sector.
Sure.
So whether that be the metal sector or precious metal sector and so forth, and more recently, taking, when we talk about this close the loop and circular economy, I mean, they're all great buzzwords, but, what do they actually mean and whatnot? But, now even taking very interesting steps around using recycled plastics, which is a huge problem, and putting them into actual products. Okay. So maybe looking at even a more vertical stream there where we can actually use the recycled plastics that we generate from our facility and convert them through a manufacturing capability as well.
Now, when I was down there yesterday, I saw a number of products which I presume are the recycled plastics that you're converting into posts. And I mean, this is solid as hell. It's very heavy. It's got a number of functions, no doubt. Yeah.
So we're working, and again, that's not our technology, but one of the things that we've been really mindful of is collaborating with other players in and around the space. I think that's probably one of the factors that's held a lot of, the progress back on a broader scale, because groups aren't necessarily ready to collaborate with others and so forth. But what we've found, we believe is an excellent solution. So, we'll have a strategic alliance, maybe an ownership at some point, but something around that pathway. So we know from our own client's point of view that the plastics that come in through our facility, the end result or the end home, it's not landfill. It's not being shipped overseas. We can actually track it through and comes out of our process into another process and ends up being a product that's back in the sector, within a week, which is incredible. So I
was down there yesterday and saw the machinery for obvious reasons, because you're right at the front edge of this industry. We don't have the photos of that share, which I get, but there was a whole range of conveyor belts working off these major, what appeared to be grinding machines. Grinding everything down, and you ended up with a whole range of outcomes. You're talking about outputs. So some of the folks can see this is a whole lot of granules which get produced, right? And
so the idea is, when we talk about e-waste, you've got your devices and so forth, but the breadth of e-waste from our facility is across the whole range. So, we've got what people would traditionally, consider phones, laptops, computers, etc. but it's also things like, power tools. We do poker machines.
These big TVs or sort of
TVs. There's
many of those.
We've got some great relationships with a lot of the major players in the telco space as well too. So there's all forms of material that come through. So the big plant equipment that you've seen here at this facility is very much about size reduction, and then reduction, in very simple terms, ferrous metals, which are clean and saleable. We'll have a non-ferrous fraction, which, will deliver us some aluminium, and some copper-heavy material. And we're now just recently have put in, I think you would have seen, an optical sorter for the plastics.
I did.
So
by colour.
Yeah, so we can
That's impressive.
we can deliver the plastics in 12 colours. What that means for some of our clients as well, who I have to say, everyone that's been through the facility is wrapped with what the outputs could be and potentially what it means. They're also really comfortable that they can come here and know hand on heart that the material is getting recycled in a proper way. So some of our clients have plastics on their materials that are a distinct colour.
Sure.
So through our process now, we're able to actually have that colour delivered in a separate output, which they're happy then to buy back off us and use in their own manufacturing process, which is just, you talk about circular economy and closing the loop and so forth.
Sure.
That's a real win for them, us, the environment, that the whole thing really ties in nicely.
Yeah, I was aware of the metal side of it, and we've got some more samples here. This is very heavy, but this is, again, a whole lot of granular pieces, which I presume is of a similar sort that can be then on-sold to
so from
manufacturing.
From that, we'll further separate down through the optical sort, and we'll generate some. That's probably a combination of aluminium, copper, brass, and there's some precious in that as well too. So through our capabilities, we go from a mechanical process to a metallurgy process. Again, starting to focus at the higher end of the outputs there, and then right through to the refining process. So one of the real points of difference is across our group, and there's obviously been a significant investment in terms of IP,
clearly,
and so forth. But from start to finish, we actually do it. We can do it all with the one organisation. So we're not having to outsource or anything. So right, through to bullion grade, we can deliver precious metals of the output, but we're also able to deliver clean ferrous metals, non-ferrous metals. The plastics are being extracted out. We've got access, exclusive license around some pyrolysis equipment too, which generates a syngas from some of the materials there too, which we hope to have the transition that into stored battery power as well. So again, another really nice solution there. That's diversion from landfill and creating something that's of value back into the commodity.
I get it. And so from a supply chain point of view, a lot of our audience, of course, in the supply chain world, you're providing a solution for all of these, for telcos, there was washing machine manufacturers, power tools, as you said, TVs, God knows what. And I just couldn't believe that these machines are able to, and clearly this is proprietary information, and that's why we don't have any imagery of it right here, but grinding everything down and then being able to, through automation and mechanics, being able to separate everything out. There's no manual process going. There's nobody there sorting. It's all through the technology and the manufacturing. Now, is that Australian developed technology, or is this developed from various parts of the world?
The reality is Europe's probably miles in front.
Is it?
And we worked with some manufacturers over there to have a bit of bespoke design, because we kind of knew. We looked at it from the end of the process first, and about how we wanted material presented at the end.
Worked your way back,
and we worked our way back.
Okay.
But the reality is, we're in a forum. There's a federal scheme around e-waste here in Australia, and a lot of those types of structures are being replicated around the world in terms of e-waste. So there's a greater awareness of putting some responsibility back on a lot of the OEMs, and I'll circle back because I know your expertise is very much around that logistics and value chain all the way through there. But one of the points that I wanted to make is that you need solutions that have capacity to deliver scale.
Yep.
Traditionally this space has been driven by manual dismantling,
right,
and particularly relevant now in still a lot of emerging economies, third world countries, and so forth as well. So you still have a lot of manual dismantling, but the reality is, how much of that can you do manual dismantling? So you do need machinery, you do need scale. You still want the outputs to be, clean and then be able to put back into the economy.
Okay.
But, from a reverse logistics point of view and value chain, and if you're talking about, circular economy, so forth, one of the real opportunities we think that exists is, with a lot of our clients, and we're getting incredible response to this opportunity, is that we can actually be brought into the conversation at the design phase.
Yep.
So, one of our clients, has a whole lot of coffee machines, for example.
Saw them yesterday.
Yeah. So, one of the discussions we've had is maybe we can work with their design teams and see whether we can use a different form or different type or different color plastic. We're not going to compromise, the safety or the
design.
The design,
but so that you can actually bring it into the circle a lot easier.
Correct. So that might be a different type of plastic there that's more easily recyclable, which means that they can, it can be delivered back into, manufacturing again and again. So, and again, hugely receptive to that type of conversation, which is great.
Right.
Similarly, you've got a lot of, plays in the logistics space as well too with there's goods end of life that are traveling in every which direction as well too. So being able to tap into a logistics network, what a lot of the manufacturers are doing with offcuts, because a lot of the times, and I'm sure a lot of your, client base or network are manufacturers as well too. A lot of the times, the best time to get access to the material is possibly before it gets into the consumer cycle. Offcuts through manufacturing, things that aren't, that traditionally are either probably going into landfill or some of the, disposal. So once there's more of an awareness of what, we're doing and our capability, I think then others will be alert to the fact that there's a better solution. And one of the things that, we've really got as a core value here is making better possible. There is a better solution. Stuff doesn't have to go to landfill.
Just got to develop it.
Well, yeah. And our environment in terms of the resources that are available, it's finite, right? So, particularly when you're starting to talk about some of the more rare earths and precious metals, systems like this and what we're able to deliver is actually a solution where, you're kind of turning the finite into the infinite.
Sure.
So it can come back and get reused. We don't necessarily have to rely on traditional mining and so forth. And these resources can be put back, into the economy. So, and with a more positive carbon footprint.
Sure. Well, I wanted to hit you on that, and thank you for sharing so much of the process. I wasn't sure how much you're prepared or could share with us, but because I know this is just a massive growth industry globally, and it's very competitive, obviously. But you appear to be leading the market here. Talk to us a little bit about the incentives, the community, government, and any other sort of incentives and how companies can benefit and how you're helping out with the SCG targets and goals and those sorts of things.
So what will be one of the first, if not the first, major e-waste recycler globally that's got a carbon credit accreditation via own gold standard. So we're really excited about that. It's a higher level of reporting that we'll open ourselves up to, but all that stuff needs to be audited and so forth for us to access the credits.
Yep.
A lot of the recycling businesses or alternative technologies are reliant on certain subsidies and so forth. This business is not built around that. It's just something that we thought, given that we're already doing it, if we had a little bit of focus on how we're doing it and recording it and so forth, and the energy, that we're using through the process and whatnot.
Sure. That can incentivize the flow, both from a supplier point of view and also the back end of the supply chain.
It also gives us a real laser focus on making sure that we're running the best process possible as well, which is great. From an ESG perspective, that's, and in this last kind of, as we've built up to where we're getting now in discussions in the last 3 or 4 years, you've seen that discussion go from, it's intangible, it's nice, it'd be great to do it, and ESG is fantastic, to it's a real tangible focus now.
Yeah.
It's measurable. There's a lot of very key decision makers in companies that their business value goes up and down with their ESG profile, and certainly their own individual salaries or bonuses and whatnot are very much driven by that as well too. So there's now a focus on let's talk about ESG, more doing. So we certainly fit into that category in terms of being able to deliver to our clients, great reports that can fit straight into their sustainability report. ESG outputs that then they get the benefit of as well too, because by using us or working with us, they're making an active decision to take a better path. So, it's better than landfill, it's better than incineration, it's better than all that. So it's been
ticking a lot of boxes as a process.
Yeah, and it was kind of a challenge earlier because, we talk about this space and I was like, oh, that's great. It was almost one of those things, when that is it too good to be true and whatnot. And without running down that path, there's obviously challenges in managing all this as well too. But there are so many ticks around this business and what we do, and we've got a commitment, through our core team to just continually keep improving and so forth as well. We've got a long, really exciting road in front of us in terms of potential expansion and so forth as well. But we're super confident in the model that we built now in terms of, it's a modular process. So as I said before, we control it from the second it comes into our facility till it's right back in the marketplace in whatever form it is too. So that gives us a level of comfort that if we can control that process and measure it and report on it, we can provide a real scalable solution to whichever area we're in. Yeah.
So Anthony, if people want to find out more, I don't know how much you can tell them, but from a commercial point of view, how do people get hold of you? I think we've got the website up here. That's Sircel, SIRCEL.
Yep.
.com.
Yes.
So Sircel.com and LinkedIn, I guess, I suppose, as well. And get onto LinkedIn.
Yeah. Not a big
you're not a big online guy, but
the marketing team are developing LinkedIn profiles and we're out there, and certainly there's ability to access that. We're getting more and more engagement around speaking opportunities as well too, in terms of presentations at industry-wide, but also client-focused. One of the things that we were very mindful of early is not being a group that got out there in the marketplace too early and told people, oh, this is what we're going to do. This is what we'll do.
Yeah.
It was more, we kind of needed to, keep our powder dry and say, right, let's start doing it. And I always feel more comfortable when speaking to someone that's actually gone down and seen the facility, walked around. It's a little bit of that whole, doubting Thomas mentality. Yeah. You look, touch, see, feel. No, it is real. Not just talking a big game or actually delivering it. So I think that whilst it was frustrating, particularly for a lot of our guys in, those BDM roles and so forth, having gone through that period and waiting till we have an actual, operating facility that demonstrates what we're doing on scale, the value of being exposed to that has been well worth the wait.
I had the unique opportunity, you may be aware, about a year ago when I was here running a conference, and I came in and I had a look in the environment, the warehouse side here, and I saw a lot of the drawings, saw some machinery, and I was like, wow, this is a very big space. They're going to need a lot of machinery. Less than a year later, it is chockers. But it's not only inside, but you've got a lot of machinery outside as well, connected. And I don't know whether you can talk about this, but from the airflow, from the taking up the safety factors in here from a dust point of view, and how you're processing that through the massive aircon system, which is what it looks like to me on steroids, about 100 times bigger than an aircon system, is actually extracting metals as well.
Yeah, so we're literally using everything. So nothing's leaving our process. The air quality out there is great. We've just put a huge VOC system into so the quality for the employees and across the whole facility is VOC cleaned up with the controlling the carbon in the air. So from a air quality point of view, EPA point of view, all those things too. You've got massive ticks around air quality and noise and so on and so forth. When we're providing load mass balance reporting as well too, a lot of the material, when you got grinding and crushing and so forth, forms of dust. So, we calculate all of that as well too. And we have a process that diverts that from landfill, and we can extract some value there as well too. So from us, it really is everything that comes through the system finds a home. And we're not, building our business around, gate fees and landfill and so forth. It's actually about trying to extract the resources, but certainly the extraction units, significant investment. And, similarly, when we open our facility in Parks, which is the next kind of project that will be completed, that system itself is, in terms of visually, is quite substantial in size and structure. And again, the commitment around emission systems and so forth in making sure that the air quality is as clean as it possibly could be has been a huge in commitment from an investment point of view. But also we took the view that let's solve to high standards worldwide. So then we don't really need to worry jurisdiction-wise that we're not going to comply. So we thought, let's find the highest standards and we'll solve to that. And that way, we can, with a huge level of comfort, know that we're compliant.
So folks that not familiar with this geographic area, we're in Sydney here, in the outer suburbs, and then Parks is on the border, it's getting towards the border between Victoria and New South Wales.
No, more Western New South Wales.
Still in New South Wales.
Yeah, more Central West. So the reason Parks was really attractive to us.
Logistics hub as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, that being your space too, that there's a fast industrial rail network, federal, from every major city in the country can come through Parks. So that from, an ESG point of view, when you're transporting...
Collection perspective.
Perfect. It's great.
Okay.
The facility we have there is significant in size, great power. We're operating in a special activation precinct that's focused on recycling as well. So you've got a whole neighbourhood, and when I say neighbourhood, it's
a recycling community.
It's a huge footprint. but you've got plastics, hydrocarbon, ceramics, the whole gambit in this particular precinct. So it'll be an area of great expertise in the space, and there'll be a lot of opportunities to collaborate there as well too.
Brilliant.
Super excited about.
We've actually done some recruitment out there in recent times, and there's a real knowledge centre out there, not only from Australia, I might say, but globally as well. There's a lot of international talent that's being attracted to the community. Can you tell us anything about the expansion plans, or is that still
No. So again, without getting too far ahead of ourselves, we see the opportunity around in Australia, if we're talking about that first, in probably creating a footprint in most of the major cities, if not all.
Yep.
At least partially what you've seen downstairs. We'll have a centralised processing capability for the material at the end of the process.
Yep.
And most likely that could be at parks, given the logistics,
yep.
The capabilities there of getting all that material there on a rail network as opposed to road. And then we're well down the path in terms of investigating opportunities, particularly around Southeast Asia at the moment now too. So we're in discussions with a number of governments there in terms of what understanding, first of all, what the sector looks like there. What are the volumes like? What are the collection practices and so forth? Clearly, there the recycling. I mean, the majority of material is not getting recycled. It's going to landfill or stockpiled or whatever. But certainly, the from our experience, there's a real shift in terms of the attitudes of governments, and then also them implementing policy, which is a positive. So with the policy that we're providing an opportunity to, at least understand from their perspective what a solution might be. And so far, all those discussions have been really encouraging. Again, I don't think it's the type of business where we've certainly taken the view, we don't think we can just plonk ourselves in a certain jurisdiction and think, we can just create a market for ourselves, because there are a whole bunch of other factors like, site selection, personnel,
sure,
logistics and so forth. I mean, most of the stuff that's in your sphere, right?
Yeah.
But so we're also very open and well down the path as well, just in terms of a number of potential strategic alliances or collaborations, because I see our development being bolstered or at least supercharged by a particular strategic alliance and so forth, which allows us then to say, right, we're going to add this part or this process to maybe what you're doing. It makes sense commercially, makes sense from an environmental point of view, but it would allow us to be in more places, operating effectively, much more quickly.
Yep. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Anthony Karam, CEO, founder and director of Sircel, SIRCEL.com.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sure there's going to be some inquiries from interested parties. What you do. You're at the front end from a year ago, coming to today, seeing everything and more come to fruition from what I was hearing about a year ago.
Yep.
Very impressive. Brilliant. Thanks so much for taking your time to join us. And
always a pleasure.
See us on the website.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thanks very much.
Thanks, everybody. And thanks for joining us on Logistics Executive TV.